Peter, welcome to the
Trow, how are
Beyond.
you?
I'm good, man. So this is I don't know, episode 25 or so of the Beyond Tax Season podcast. And what was so interesting is you showed up as my VA was finding people that would be interesting to talk to. You showed up, and
Great.
we had already our paths had already crossed back when I was just getting started with coaching, and you were just getting started with Talifor. So, why don't you fill in our guests where you fit in the ecosystem, how you got here, and let's provide a message that serves that $1 million, $2 million firm owner that has got all the normal struggles.
Yeah, thank you, Trow, for inviting me to your podcast and congrats on 25. Yeah, let me tell you a little bit more about myself. I am a former CPA. I worked corporate audit nonprofits for about 10 years. And then I moved over into accounting product, um, building products for accountants. So I joined Zero, the early team at Zero, about a decade ago when they first came to the US. Um, so I was the first product person over there in the US side. And what I realized was rather than doing everything kind of manually or with old software, I wanted to build um, kind of new software. Build the tools that all of us have been wanting for, decades. So that's kind of my background. So I
Well,
do have a strong accounting and tax background, but really building product is my
it's
passion at the moment.
interesting you mentioned as product because from the outside looking in, everybody knows QuickBooks. Everybody knows Zero. Very few even know to categorize it as it's just a general ledger because general ledger gets buried in the as you go up into ERPs. General ledger is like the backbone, and you build off of it. So you talk about product, and you also when we first talked, you used legacy product names. Maybe you don't want to do that here. You don't want to throw them under the bus, but the idea is that those were products that they didn't evolve. They
Mhm.
what was what is the problem you noticed with the legacy products?
Well, what I like to maybe let's put it this way. It's about tools, right? We all have our craft. Our profession is accounting and tax, and it is a craft. It is a profession where we have to know the law, we have to know the rules. I mean, it's actually quite an elegant system. The right the trial balance, a balanced general ledger. It's quite an old system from right Luca Pacioli. Um, so we had tools. It used to be a ledger, right? Literally pen and paper. So those tools help us organize our mind and organize the ledger, our financial data. Um, and those tools evolve along with right other technology in general. And what I found is the accountants and CPAs sometimes they get it first, right? Um, one of the earliest business products was a ledger, a general ledger. Um, Back, right, I don't even know the decade, right? But as computers grew in prominence, so did software for accountants. But sometimes we're lagging, right? Sometimes we get the cool stuff a couple years later, or sometimes it's a decade later. And that's frustrating. So I'd rather build the leading edge for the accountants and tax people first. I want to innovate for our profession first because it's such a fundamental part of living. Knowing where your money is, knowing how much you're worth. These are very important things for modern day.
So when we first talked, I was just learning the guts of accounting, and I'd heard the term trial balance.
Oh, wow.
And as I had a wealth management firm, a service business, it was really pretty easy. You collected the money, your AR was about 30 minutes, and you received it. And then my accountant kept saying, okay, now we need to clean up your balance sheet. I don't have a balance sheet. I don't have assets. It's all cash flow.
Oh, but you do have assets.
Yeah, yeah. But so there's the there's the evolution of my mind and the tool, but now you were very, very excited about, I helped get the trial balance right the first time. And that's what brought Tally 4 into existence.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go a little theoretical here because I do love the theoretical part, right? A trial balance is a state of your ownership and, right, how you make that ownership or liabilities, right? So it's really a snapshot of your worth. You as a person, you as a company, you as whatever conglomerate. Um, so again, it's an elegant way of keeping track of your stuff and how does your stuff get to be your stuff. Um, so I like to say actually everyone has a personal balance sheet, right? It may not be apparent, but if you ever apply for a loan, they they kind of ask for that. But you actually have one. And you might have a mental reckoning of it, my house, my stuff, my bike, things like that. But we don't really put it on a ledger, right? Unless you're really nerdy, or you have a lot of stuff maybe. Um, so that idea of having an accounting of your ins and outs and what's in your house is very fundamental to living life and then doing commerce with others. So I probably didn't answer your question.
Well,
Um,
but you saw a gap in the market that was so big in your mind that you started a company 5 years ago to fill it.
yeah. Well, okay, let's go into that side, right? There's the accounting side, the general ledger side, which is the bookkeeping side. And then there's the tax people, right? The tax people report to the IRS. So it's a little bit of a different counting than what the financial people would count. So the tax world, in some ways, is even more lagging than um, the general ledger, bookkeeping, or accounting world. So that's where I built Tally for, to really bring those tools that the tax professional use really up to the modern age, and that's Tally for.
Got it. Got it. And then I want to jump ahead a little bit because in our conversation just a few weeks ago, you've now brought out a tax calc product.
Yeah,
Tell us about, because of I've been working through its tax planning season, and
yeah,
one of the firms I work with has a superstar in the Thomson Reuters CS Planner.
yeah.
It's just amazing to watch him dance through that and build the scenario so that we didn't have to go into the software, but we got a really, really detailed overview. So I know the power of that and the power of making it easy and accessible, because so many people, accountants, have been sold tax planning as a
Mm.
service. And the tax planning backbone is more of a presentation tool, not a calculation tool. So having that good, accurate calculator, I think people would like to know about that. Sell that to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, let me take a step back and talk about what Tally4's main two main products are. One is a book to tax trial balance product, and that helps write an 1120S or a 1065 company kind of, or a tax professional file those corporate taxes. But what really Tally4 is really for the owners of those businesses, right? So you have a business, and the business typically has an owner that goes to that individual tax return. So that's where our second component, which is the 1040, right, individual tax estimator, and it's the real calculation, right? It's think of it as a live TurboTax, right? A
Hmm?
TurboTax that's dynamic. You can feed it any kind of data. So in this case, we'll feed it data from the accounting system, right? From Xero, QuickBooks Online. So that's one component of that person's wealth. So maybe he owns a bakery, right? He's a co-owner in a bakery. Maybe one of the spouses has a Schedule C, right? So these are these are the different components of their income. Maybe there's stock option grants and things like that. So we can take those different data. They can come in during the year, and we can actually estimate what your taxable income and what your tax will be when December 31st comes. So it's
What,
really,
what's the data input trail? Because I just got off a call
yeah,
with an account client of mine, her new accountant, very, very successful young man, now he's in Cisco and a director and RSUs and
Yeah,
properties around the
exactly.
world. That what is the input that she could use? I'll say
Yeah,
we could as a collaborative team. How would tax calc serve that little group of a family higher earner,
yeah,
CPA, and financial advisor? How
yeah.
would tax calc help
Great
them?
question. Well, the best way to start is always a prior year return. So what we can do is we can parse, we can read that prior year return just like a human would, and then we can pull out the components of last year's right return. So we'll know that they had, W-2 wages or whatever forms or subforms there are. We'll know that. So we'll build basically a profile of their return, but it's as data, right? It's not as this PDF that's locked away that was from prior year. We actually take that. Now we can enter new data. We can either enter it manually with right through our user interface, or you can upload other files. For example, a W-2, and that'll update maybe mid-year in the year. You have a or maybe a pay stub, let's say, and that'll kind of annualize it out. So it's kind of a smart calculator with whatever varied inputs that person's return has. So it could be a lot.
So the path of keeping that as a living, breathing uh, tool for this team, because the client with the high income, the
Yep.
CPA doing tax planning and compliance work, right? It's
Yeah,
the
exactly.
compliance was the beginning of the relationship because it was a complex multi-continent trial
Oh,
balance,
yes,
right?
international, sure.
Right. So how is the data kept alive so that that can be a conversation throughout the year?
Yeah. I don't want to say it's real time, but it's you can fetch the data from whatever data source. If it's a 1120S or something that on an accounting system, you can pull it from QuickBooks Online or Zero. Other sources you might have to update quarterly with dropping in a file. We'll read it, we'll automate the reading of that file, and then we'll fill in the details. And you can also duplicate how should I say? You can duplicate an estimate, meaning you can clone it, and so you can have one for Q1, and then you can have another one for Q2, Q3, Q4, and then Q4 basically you're almost to the final return, right? So you're monitoring over the year your client's changing financial
And
picture.
and did I get that right? That would be $35 for the year.
Yeah, in the days we used to have a binder, right? A three-ring binder. So we charge $35 a binder. You could put anything you want in that binder. So yes, $35.
That'd be awesome. Oh, so now let's get real technical because one of my clients, as part of her tax filing service, helps the small business owner uh, take the right mix of income and retirement contribution and QBI, all that stuff.
Yep.
She hand built it.
Oh,
It's a smart spreadsheet. She's got a software background. So where would tax calc either keep her from having to do that or do it in, I don't know.
yeah.
Did I ask a
Yeah, no,
question?
we just launched, or we're about to launch an updated QBI calculator, which is it's actually quite a complicated calculation. So kudos to your client. Um, so yes, in tax calc, you can duplicate a estimate, and then you can change a number, or you can use we have our QBI widget, which will actually take all the QBI inputs and then analyze right what your QBI deduction will be, or I'm sorry, it's not deduction, right? It's a right what your QBI benefit will be.
Yeah.
Um,
It
yeah,
it
and
the
whether you need to group, yeah,
it's
whether you need to group them or
calculated from all the factors, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do it automatically with just through the UI. I do know doing it on Excel is doable, but it's probably quite a fragile
Well,
way to do it.
right. The way she's created is it's a series of incomes with a row that shows the optimality. That
Yeah, yeah, all the thresholds, right? So and there's also some property, right? There's some property and wage kind of limitations. So yeah,
Mhm.
we have that all baked in there so you can see the optimal path for your client.
Excellent, excellent. I mean, I didn't mean for this to be an ad, but I just thought it was such a powerful little tool that is accessible to folks that want to start to get into tax planning
Yeah,
and have an ongoing conversation with their clients. So,
yeah. I mean, that's what we built it for, right? It's in the end of the day, it is just math, right? It's a bunch of numbers and math. Yeah, every one of us could individually do it in Excel, but that's not very efficient. Um, and these tools should be available, right, reasonably for the profession. And, you know, that's what we've built. Um, and it's really a great product, and it's really fun to see the profession adopt it and really
mhm.
save time, right? In the end of the day,
Oh yeah.
you can in 2 minutes you can have a plan.
It provides a tool to scale because
Yep.
that can become your work papers.
Yes, and we do have a work papers around each of our binder. We have a work papers methodology where you can upload supporting documentation, you can annotate it, and then you can stitch it all together and save that. Again, for your peace of mind, what did I do? What did I talk to about with my client? I want to document this because you're the advisor, right? And so we have a really elegant way of doing that quickly and easily.
So who's buying your two products? And they're going to lead straight to how can the solo and small firms win fast? What's your advice
Yeah.
to the $1 million firm stuck in compliance mode?
Oh yeah, I mean, they shouldn't be stuck, right? Because they shouldn't be spending time and staff hours typing, figuring out where files are. Their expertise is in the knowledge of the law, in the knowledge of how to do the things, right? It's not in this manual rote stuff, which unfortunately we still do a lot of, right? And that's, maybe I spoke to someone who did real estate accounting, right? And I think he said he spent 30 hours getting the 8825 form. I mean, it was a lot of properties, but um, in California, you could probably do it in 15 minutes, right? So 30 hours to 15 minutes because it's data, right? If your data is clean in the QuickBooks, and then then Tally4 will get it organized, right? Will effectively do the compliance work. And then you, the professional with the knowledge, can have more time to have the discussions, right? The meaningful discussions of, should I sell this property or should I buy another one? And then do analysis on that, right? Not the compliance. Yeah, compliance is key, but it's really the first step in the door to make more money.
So one of the biggest problems that I've noticed in the accounting firms that have a big compliance uh, bent
Yeah.
is waiting on clients to bring their documents.
Well,
Uh,
yeah.
So, uh, how can we help accountants train their clients as opposed to their clients training them? It's a
Yeah.
partnership.
Yeah.
And we need to have this upfront conversation about I can do this work for you.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm investing in team to be ready to do this work for you. And when you don't give me documents, you've essentially burnt my investment in labor inventory that was set aside for you. So how do we have that conversation? How do we uh,
Yeah.
hold
That's,
the
that's,
hold the line
yeah.
on the commitment that clients need to bring to the union?
Yeah, I've been talking about software up until now. I think there's a software component to that, but there's actually probably more non-software, right? What is your service agreement? What's your relationship? Software can help to a point of like knowing what should be there. We could also, we could also go fetch the IRS transcripts and know some stuff that way too, right? But that's only just knowing, right? The more of hey, the client needs to get this right this document to us. There are other ways now, especially with everything like payroll. right? If they have a payroll provider, modern, like Gusto or, whatever, that the data of that file is actually already available. So some of that stuff is more automatable, and you're not really relying on the physical thing that the client may be sending you. So maybe they'll send it to you in the end, but you can have a preview in a sense. So that's kind of the software solution, but really it's more about what is your service offering, what is like how do you how do you make them understand it's important for the relationship?
Of It's a great question. And again,
I mean, it puts the
accountants
profession.
nationwide are beating their heads against their desks around this problem. And I think one of my clients said it best. She's a high-end tax planner and charges appropriately for the value she brings.
Yes, I mean, I think that's very important, right? Hey, this will cost you money and me time.
But where I was going with that was, but what happens if a client doesn't accept the value proposition? She said you have to be willing to lose the client.
Yeah, well, that's very true. Yes.
And I think this whole data trail thing, you have to be willing to lose the client because they want a 500 or 1,000 or $2,000 tax return, but you spent 5,000 of
Oh, yeah. So
resources
that's
to
not fair.
produce it.
Yeah, that's absolutely not sustainable. So,
Yeah.
yeah, knowing who your good customers are, and if it is underwater like that, then obviously, yes. I mean, it's not worth anyone's pain. And maybe they'll come back when they realize that you were great, right? And that the other competitors
Yeah,
have the same
we call them boomerang clients.
problem. Yeah, I mean, it's not. You should know your value and assert it when needed.
Peter, I think that's like a good exclamation point for the message. We started on software and we then talked about the relationship that accountants have with their clients and how they need to maintain their stature in that relationship.
Yeah. And again, that's why I say Talifor is a tool, right? It's only a tool. It's a tool in the toolbox. Maybe you're a leather maker and you've got all these little weird tools, right? Little ping things, but really, what you're giving your client is this beautiful thing at the end, right? Now it's attached. I'm going to call that beautiful, right? I'm going to call planning beautiful. Yeah, if you can save your client lots of money, that's beautiful, right? It's art. So um, so Telever is a tool. So if you have better tools, you can sit and build better things. So that's all I'm doing is providing tools. And then the
Excellent,
relationship can flourish.
excellent, excellent. Well, thanks for sharing with the community here of Beyond Tax Season podcast. I look forward to watching you grow and thrive.
Troy, thank you very much. And I look forward the same to your podcast as well.
All right, thanks, Dan.